What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy. Today we're back with another entry in the Battle on a Budget, and this one's actually inspired by the deck that took regionals by storm. That's going to be Gyarados. Even though it didn't end up winning the tournament, I think this is kind of the big surprise that ended up showing up. I think it made two top 32 finishes, and it yeah, really just caught a lot of people off guard. So, and luckily it's a really cheap deck to make too, so that's why it's pretty much a perfect fit for this entry that we have. So what is the deal with Gyarados? Gyarados has been around for a while. It's never really done anything. I think I've seen a couple people use it at league challenges and stuff like that before, but really it's never done anything meaningful in the competitive scene. But this is the kind of card I forgot about after rotation. But previously, I think what made it so bad was that bats were very popular in so many different decks. Trevenant Break was also hugely popular. Item Lock in general was super popular right before rotation, and all of those things really hurt Gyarados. So let's take a look at what the deal is with this card. So here we have Gyarados, 130 hit points, really nice for a stage 1. That's what a lot of stage 2s have, so definitely nice hit points. 3 retreat, kind of pesky. Lightning weak, not too relevant in standard format. Luckily, there's not really a whole lot of lightning currently, so a good weakness for sure. So Gyarados does have the ability Theta Double. It may have up to two tool cards attached to it. And you might think that's what this deck is about, but no, not at all actually. The ability really doesn't even come into play for this deck. But what we're looking at is its attack full Retaliation. For just a double colorless energy, it does 30, plus 30 more for every damage counter on each of your benched Magikarp. So that's kind of what the whole strategy of this deck is about, is you want to get Magikarps on your bench with damage on them. That way you can hit for a lot of damage. So if you have 3 Magikarps on your bench, each with 2 damage counters each, you're doing 210 damage. And that's a really significant number because Mewtwo is debatably the best deck currently in standard format. You can knock out Mewtwo's in one hit. Mega Gardevoir also had a decent showing at regionals. You can knock that out in one hit. You knock out Volcanions no matter what because of their water weakness. So it's just a really, really solid card. It hits, I mean, you can even knock out things like Yveltal EXs that have Fighting Fury belts attached to them. So Gyarados is just such a heavy hitter, and with no real reliable spread damage in the format, Gyarados definitely becomes a lot more viable. So that's why we're taking a look at this guy. So that's Gyarados. He's the attacker of the deck, but we kind of need to look at Magikarp as well, I guess. So Magikarp, 30 hit points, absolutely abysmal. You could debatably run things like Fighting Fury Belt and like Rainbow Energy and stuff like that if you want even more damage, but honestly, I think that makes this deck way too clunky. So you're just going to have to be content with 2 damage counters on each Magikarp at the very most. And you might be wondering, we're playing a 4-3 line of Gyarados. That might seem weird, but you have to think, you have to have 3 Magikarp on your bench, and only one of them can be evolved. So you really only have a need for 1 Gyarados at a time in most cases. And we have so much different ways to recover Pokemon, it's not really an issue missing the 4th one. So the other key Pokemon in the deck we're going to look at is Octillery. It's kind of a popular card. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it by now. That has the Abyssal Hand ability. Once during your turn before you attack, you may draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. So playing this instead of something like Shaman means we're going to have a very nice prize trade throughout the course of the game. We only run 1 EX in this entire deck, and it's only kind of a tech and not really necessary in most matchups. So most of the time, everything is just going to be giving up 1 prize, and we already played Dive Ball since we're playing Gyarados, so we may as well play Octillery as well. Let's see. Okay, so we're playing 1 Mr. Mime, Bench Barrier, prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by attacks. So Mr. Mime is good because if we do run into some sort of deck that does spread damage, Mr. Mime will be able to counter that because bench damage is pretty much the bane of this entire deck's existence. Luckily, there isn't a whole lot in the format, but if Gyarados becomes popular, you might see people start to tech in things like Spinda or Celebi, or weird stuff like that that hits on the bench. Even I did see a couple Mewtwo decks at regionals that played the basic Hoopa to do bench damage. So it's definitely going to have a Mr. Mime for all of these weird techs, but the main one we're trying to block is Galvantula. Galvantula is in the Rainbow Road decks, and we want to be able to prevent that from sniping our benched Magikarps. Okay, and the last of the Pokemon we're going to be playing is one Meowstic EX. I'm going to say I thought this card was complete trash. I'm pretty sure I've probably said that in a Generations unboxing at some point. But nevertheless, it actually is kind of relevant in this deck. So it has the ability Shadow Ear. Once during your turn, before you attack, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you may move one damage counter from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So why is that good? Well, there's actually a couple reasons. One of the main ones is if you go against a Mega deck that has Pokemon that have 220 or more hit points, you can't get one-hit knockouts with Gyarados. So let's say your Gyarados has 2 damage counters on it from being a Magikarp, and we'll get to later how we get the damage counters on these Magikarps. But let's say you have some damage on this Gyarados that you've evolved into. Well, if Meowstic is your active, you may move one of those damage counters to your opponent's active, let's say Mega Rayquaza, and then you can retreat into Gyarados and do the remaining 210 damage to knock it out. But so it's not only good against that and things like Mega Scizor and things like Darkrai EX that have Fighting Fury belts. It's also good too in the mirror. If you play against another Gyarados deck, you can help pick off your opponent's Magikarps a little easier. So that's for playing this Meowstic EX. So moving on to the supporter line, we're going to be playing 4 Sycamore, discard your hand, draw 7. Strongest draw supporter we have in the game. There's really not a whole lot of moving pieces in this deck as far as evolutions or anything. So most of the time we're not too worried about discarding resources or anything like that. Playing 2N, that's our other main way of drawing cards. So each player shuffles their hand into their deck and draws cards equal to the amount of prize cards they have left. So Gyarados takes prizes pretty quickly starting on turn 2. It's definitely a very fast deck in most cases. So that's why we're playing a smaller end count, just because you are typically the player to take the prize lead, I feel like. We're playing 1 Teammates. So you can only play this card if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. So search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand. So this is good because we pretty much exclusively play non-EXs, which gives us the potential to use this card up to 5 times if possible. So it's so strong just being able to grab any 2 cards, especially since we play Puzzle of Time in this deck. We can grab 2 puzzles and immediately get anything we want out of the discard pile. 1 Pokemon Ranger, remove all effects of attacks on each player and his or her Pokemon. The main reason this is here is for Giratina EX. Giratina EX is such an annoying card for this deck since it prevents you from playing Special Energy, Tools, and Stadium cards. We only play Special Energy in this deck, and our Stadium card is kind of the lifeblood of what makes this entire deck tick. So we definitely need Ranger in order to effectively deal with that. Also, forgot to mention Glaceon EX as well. That's another one that could be annoying. So 2 Lysanders, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. Pretty standard inclusion. Just being able to choose what you want to take knockouts on. 1 Hex Maniac. So until the end of your opponent's next turn, each Pokemon has no abilities. So even though we do have Octillery, we can play this after we've already used Octillery's Abyssal Hand ability if need be. And also, I think the matchup this is most relevant for, I can think of off the top of my head, it's going to be Greninja, because Greninja can snipe with its ability. Even though you definitely can outspeed Greninja, if they are able to get set up, they can potentially pick off a lot of your Magikarps and prevent you from doing a lot of damage. So that's the main reason we're playing Hex, and also just in case if some people play Bats or anything like that as well. So 4 versus Seeker to reuse all the supporters we just talked about. 4 Trainer's Mail, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, pick a trainer card you find there, put it in your hand. So we play a ton of trainer cards in this deck, so it's just a nice consistency boosting card. 1 Town Map, turn all of your prize cards face up. So this is actually a very key card, because if you prize any of your Magikarp, this deck becomes a lot less powerful. So if you don't have if you prize one of your Magikarp, you can only hit for 150, which is still a good respectable amount of damage, but we do want to take one-hit knockouts if possible. So definitely is going to be good to fish out those Magikarps, no pun intended, out of the prize cards if they do wind up in there. So one Super Odd Shuffle, 3 of any combination of Pokemon or basic energy from your discard into your deck. Just a form of recovery, just in case some Gyaradoses get knocked out, we can get them back for the late game. One Special Charge, shuffle 2 special energy from your discard into your deck. So this is great because we only play special energy for DCE, nothing else. So we definitely need a way to get them back if they get discarded. 4 Puzzle of Time, like I was saying, so this is one of those cool dual effect cards. If you play one of them, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put it back in any order. But if you play 2 cards, 2 of these at the same time, you may put 2 cards from your discard into your hand. So this is really good because we can get back things like Magikarps, double colorless energies, our stadiums, etc. 3 Level Balls, search your deck for a Pokemon with under 90 hit points, put it in your hand. So the only thing we can't get is Meowstic and Gyarados, but luckily we can grab everything else out of our deck. So playing 3 of those and 4 Dive Ball. This is definitely a crucial card. Search your deck for a water Pokemon, reveal, put it to your hand. Definitely important because all of our key cards in this deck are water Pokemon. 2 Buddy Buddy Rescue. Each player puts a Pokemon from his or her discard into her hand, and your opponent chooses first. So why would we play this over something like Revive? Or actually, I'm not even sure if Revive is in the format. Could be mistaken. But anyways, I think the clear reason to play this as opposed to this or Max Revive even is because you want the Magikarps that get knocked out back into your hand. That way you can play them down and they take damage with the Stadium card we're going to talk about. So this is definitely better than playing an extra Super Odd or something like that too. Then 2 Acrobike. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them in your hand and discard the other. So this deck in particular, if it has a bad start, like if you just start a Magikarp and have nothing really else to work with, it can be pretty bad. So we definitely want to play some additional draw cards. So Acrobike is another form of draw support, and also it helps dig for double colorless energies. I think that's the big thing. We could have opted just to play an extra supporter or something like that, but I like the fact that Acrobike does give you the option to draw into your double colorless energies if, for example, you play Sycamore or something and don't hit one, but you do get Acrobike. Okay, 2 Float Stones, the only tool we're going to be playing, so it gives free retreat to whatever Pokemon it's attached to. Gyarados has 3 retreat, so we can retreat it if need be. Octillery also has a 2 retreat cost, so it's definitely good on these kind of clunky big Pokemon. Also Meowstic EX as well. If you have a Float Stone attached to Meowstic, whenever something gets knocked out, you can promote your Meowstic, move a damage counter off one of your Pokemon, and then retreat into a Gyarados for the turn. And for the last trainer card we're going to take a look at is going to be Ting Magma's Secret Base. So whenever a player puts a basic Pokemon from his or her hand onto his or her bench, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. That's kind of what makes the whole deck work. So we play Team Magma's Secret Base, put our Magikarps onto the bench, and they take 2 damage counters, and that's how we power up Gyarados' attack. And also this is cool because even if we prize a Magikarp, let's say we go against something like Yveltal EX, has 170 hit points. With Magma Base in play, that knocks it down to 150. And so even if we prize a Magikarp or can't draw into our last one for some reason, Team Magma Base will help actually put your opponent's Pokemon in 1-hit knockout range a little bit easier. So it's kind of what makes the whole deck work, and that's why we're maxing it out. And yeah, guys, this is going to be our attempt at a Gyarados deck. And actually, I want to give a shout out to the guys at the meta deck. I believe one of them made top 32, if I'm not mistaken. They took this deck all the way to top. I'm pretty sure. I could be mistaken. But either way, I know those guys were actually testing this deck, and they brought it to regionals. So I want you guys to go over there and check out their channel. They do a really comprehensive breakdown of this deck, and it's showing at regionals. So definitely go give those guys a look. But anyways, I'm going to switch over to the battle portion of the video. That way you can see how this deck looks in action, okay? All right, looks like we got ourselves a game here, and we do is the coin flip, which is unfortunate with this deck since your turn one normally never involves an attack. So you definitely like to go first if possible with this deck. So let's see. Okay, so we have a Magikarp start. Also, yeah, I guess I'm okay with that. So we have a dive ball, so we can get ourselves a Remoraid down, or if we can get a Magma's base, we can get a Magikarp and bench that and start building up our field. So it looks like we're going against a Mega Gardevoir deck, so that's actually pretty interesting. Mega Gardevoir has 210 hit points, which is just enough for our Mega Gyarados, or not Mega Gyarados, our Gyarados, to knock it out in one hit if we can manage to get all of our Magikarps on the board with damage. So I'm actually feeling okay about this just because the math, like I said, for Gardevoir works out nicely. And this is kind of a slower deck, I think. They're playing the Xerneas version where they flood energy onto their board. So they're probably going to Geomancy a couple times before they even get to attack us, which is really good for us. Okay, he's playing Max Elixir, fails it. And red card, are you serious? Who plays red card in Gardevoir? Oh, okay, so let's see. Alright, well, we can grab ourselves a dive ball, and so we can grab ourselves a Magikarp, or I kind of like getting Remoraid. We have Octillery in hand and a double colorless right now, so we can attach that, and then next turn we can evolve into Octillery, use its ability to draw some cards, and hopefully evolve into Gyarados and start attacking. So we're going to Lysander up a Shaman, just to potentially prevent our opponent from taking a knockout here, because we do run the risk of this puny 30 hit point Magikarp getting knocked out. So we see a Perilous and a Delinquent. Are you serious? Oh god, this is like the most disruptive Gardevoir deck I've ever played against. Oh, so we get red carded and delinquented to a 0-card hand. What is this? Oh god. So let's see if we can manage to top deck something godlike here. We need a Sycamore or an N or something. Neither of which. So here, I'm just going to opt to retreat into this Remoraid and pass. That way we can preserve our Magikarp with that double colorless on it. But I'm not even sure our opponent can attack us here for a knockout. So I definitely wanted to retreat just in case they got a Fairy Energy. They could have Sky returned for a knockout, which is not what we want to see. So it looks like they're just putting up that Xerneas, which is a great sign for us, which means our Remoraid will actually probably be safe this turn as well. So they're just going to Geomancy, start powering up those Gardevoirs that he has. And come on, big top deck. A dive ball that actually works. We can get our other Octillery out. Here I forgot to check what was prized the first time I searched, so here we're just going to run through, see what we have in the deck. We have all of our Magma bases, which is a good sign. So we're going to use that Abyssal Hand ability, draw until we have 5 cards. That's actually great. We get a Magma base, which means we can put down a Magikarp and get some damage on it. We can probably grab a Level Ball and do the same. Or we can get a Remoraid. It's here looks like I'm debating. I think Remoraid's okay because we have the Octillery in the discard pile that we can get out with Buddy Buddy Rescue on the next turn. So here our opponent's turn, what are they going to do? They get Fairy Garden down, they can retreat, attach to Gardevoir, and knock us out. So let's see what they end up doing. So they're going to bench that Hoopa, get 20 damage down on it. I'm okay with that. Here, no doubt we'll grab a Mega Gardevoir. Here, grabbing 2 Shamans, that's really interesting. Maybe they plan on Sycamoring this turn or something like that. That would be my guess if they grab the extra 2 Shamans. We're going to see Verse Seeker. Oh god, we're going to get delinquented for a second time. This is ridiculous. Oh my god. Luckily we do have this one Octillery on the board, so we can draw out of this, but this is so, I'm just trying to think of the right word. Slightly annoying, I guess. Typically, Gyarados is a really fast deck. You can attack on the second turn of the game for crazy amounts of damage. But luckily, we have Octillery. We can draw until we have 5 cards, and we have that Versus Seeker to grab ourselves a Sycamore if need be. So we can evolve into that undamaged Magikarp. We can play Town Map to check out our prize cards. So we have Die Ball, so we can grab a Magikarp, but we don't have Magma Base on the field, so I'm not sure if I want to do that here. Here, I think I'd rather just Sycamore. And yeah, just do that. Hopefully we can draw into a Magma Base, yes, which we do. So that means we can get another Magikarp down the board. We can Trainer's Mail, maybe grab a Versus Seeker for next turn potentially, or maybe Super Odd. We do have an Octillery in the discard as it is. I think either one's fine. I don't think it matters too much here. If we plan on Sycamoring next turn, I think the Super Odd's fine. So here we can actually manually retreat the Octillery. Looks like I'm debating on it here. Just because we really don't want to knock out non-EXs. We want to take all of our prizes off these EXs that our opponent has on the field. But luckily we can just retreat, attack with the Gyarados for 150 damage, and we can get any card out of our prizes. So we're going to grab Teammates, which is nice because even if we get knocked out here, we will be able to teammate into some cards to help set up another Gyarados to get a knockout on this Mega. So here we're going to see Brilliant Arrow, 210 damage, like I was saying. So here we can promote a Magikarp. Looks like I'm debating, but yeah, we should definitely promote Magikarp here. We can evolve into a Gyarados here. And we drew a Puzzle of Time, which is great because that means we can actually teammates for another Puzzle of Time and a different card. So teammates, we can, like I said, I think we should grab one puzzle at the very least, and then maybe a DCE or a way to get another Magikarp on the board. So yeah, I think that's definitely what we need to do here. Do that, and then we can actually Puzzle of Time for another Magikarp and a DCE to get a knockout on this Mega Card. And after that, I don't know what our opponent's going to be able to do here. This is going to really set him back a good bit. So here we're going to bench our third Magikarp, attach DCE, play Super Odd. I guess we can get back our Gyarados and Octillery. Most importantly, we can Abyssal Hand, keep drawing through our deck. So you can really see we're starting to pick up steam here. Trainer's Mail, maybe get out another Octillery. Yep, we can get a Dive Ball or a Level Ball. So let's grab that Level Ball and get out another Octillery and keep drawing more cards. Because why not? I don't know what else we really need here, but it's, you know, why not draw more cards? But here, I don't think there's anything else we need, and we're just going to see a full Retaliation for 210 damage. So we can grab ourselves a Floatstone, maybe a Buddy Buddy Rescue potentially, or I don't know. But either way, our opponent's board is just pretty much done. This other Gardevoir can potentially attack. Oh, and here, our opponent just concedes the game. They saw the Gyarados was too powerful. Even after a red card and 2 delinquents down to a 0 card hand, we managed to pull that out. So I know our opponent quit a little early, but I think this video really showed what Gyarados can do once it gets set up. So like I said, even despite all of those disruption cards, we still managed to get set up and start hitting for some crazy amounts of damage. Yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This deck definitely caught me by surprise. I didn't expect to see it at regionals, so props to all the players who figured out that this deck was actually viable and showed up with it. But yep, as usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out our merch over at rarecandytcg.com. Pick up a shirt or a playmat or something. Help support the channel. It would mean a lot to us guys. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we will see you for the next one, okay?